What will you do to promote racial justice and reverse the deep structures of white supremacy?
Voters. But the truth is there's a lot of prisons in our district, and those are the voiceless constituents of New York 19 as well. And that's why I believe that criminal justice reform has to be a big part of any New York 19 congressperson's platform. In our country right now, it's better to be guilty and rich than it is to be innocent and poor. That's because we have an abusive bail system. We put people in jail for nonviolent crimes. We do not actually look at how the law is being applied and make sure it's being done equally.
I've also been a public defender for 9 years. I fought for rehabilitation instead of incarceration. I fought to get people the training and the chance to redeem themselves. That's something, the mass incarceration issue is something we have to address. We can address that from the federal level to change the sentencing guidelines. They give mandatory sentences without looking into the background of the people that they're sentencing. All those things can be done from Congress, and I would take my experience and my effort and my advocacy to that level to make that difference. Thank you.
I'm glad to see it becoming more of a discussion in our country, and now we need to do something about it. So addressing it and making sure that we're giving trainings to our law enforcement and making sure that they're able to better handle situations and being more aware and making sure that we're not targeting certain communities, I think is really important in steps towards that. But also there's education and job opportunities. That we see racial inequalities in these areas as well, and need to continue to make sure that we are enforcing and implementing policies that create a more equal society for everyone, no matter what your racial background is.
That was doing this work. It's deeper than just the crime. It's fascinating when we talk about crime when racial inequality comes up. But as Aaron alluded to, there are severe wealth challenges of communities left behind by virtue of redlining, sanctioned by our government, communities devastated and terrorized for generations, and nothing has been done to deal with this. And we must broaden the conversation when we're talking about racial equality in this country. Thank you.
This systemic racism affects every part of people's lives. Everything from education and how we have it by zip code. We actually explicitly discriminate against people. We have this criminal justice system that has cash-based bail and private prisons that discriminates, especially against African American men. We have a healthcare system that discriminates. That's why I propose Medicare for all that will reduce those disparities in care. We have an education system that we need to actually provide higher education and tuition-free public education so everyone has equal access. We need to enable and empower unions because there is no better way to provide equality and transparency and lack of discrimination than having people as members of trade unions. And we also have to look at even environmental protections. Do you know you're 4 times more likely to have lead poisoning if you're a child from a community of color?
For all this. For the criminal justice system, it's ending the bail system. No matter how wealthy you are, it shouldn't, either you're a flight risk or you're not. And given the amount of money in your bank account, shouldn't dictate that. We must end the mandatory minimum laws and our economic system. As a member of Congress, I will make sure that the money that's coming to our communities, like Kingston, like Hudson, other communities are getting a lot of this DRI money, is not just going to the Rondo, it's not just going to Uptown, Wall Street, and North Front Street. It's coming to Midtown, it's coming to other communities as well. Our education system, we must make sure that right now in America we have 2 education systems, that the outcomes are dictated based on what zip code you're born into.
Of national public service, where anyone who's willing to serve our country as whether in the military or a teacher or a nurse in a rural underserved area, will cover the cost of your higher education for 2 years. This will address the education issues that we've already talked about, but the other reason that I'm really excited about this idea to transform us as a culture and as a society is that it creates opportunities for young people from very different, diverse backgrounds to come together, to have to work on a project that's bigger than themselves, and to have to realize that there's tremendous diversity, or excuse me, tremendous strength in that diversity.